We've got an extra exciting episode of Monday Madness this week because we've got 2 weeks worth of craziness to get into today. 2 weeks worth of news, 2 weeks worth of trailers, and even 2 weeks worth of reviews themselves, with all our thoughts on Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny, including a ranking of all 5 Indiana Jones movies in today's Let's Talk. Jeannine has a review, I should say, of Joy Ride. We have trailers for the second Nun movie and a new Bob Marley One Love biopic as well. News about the Superman casting that we haven't talked about on this show. We also have a particularly, I think, reviled superhero movie from the early 2000s getting a little bit of a comeback in an upcoming Deadpool movie, shall we say. We know exactly what that is thanks to news this week. We've also, of course, got a pretty exciting announcement that we did promise we would say on the episode of this show that we had today. All that, even more. Welcome to the madness. Ooh, an epic intro there. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Monday Madness with Morgan and the Machine. Hello, Jeannine. How are we? How are you? How am I? How are they?
That is all wonderful, I think. Me, they,
Yes.
us, them, all.
I hope so. I hope so. I always hope so. That's why I say it. That is why I say it. I think we are very excited. It's going to be quite a lot of stuff we have to talk about today.
Playing a little catch up, but
A little bit. We, of course, sadly didn't have a show last week. It was 4th of July weekend.
yes.
There were celebrations going on. Not necessarily from my end, but, you know, from your end. There was celebrations going on and trips going on and things like that. So, unfortunately, I mean, we'll get right into it now, and I won't ask the question yet because I don't really think this first thing that we want to say is really part of a what's up. It's almost a what will be soon, if you could give it any sort of title like that. But we wanted to make this announcement, or we assumed that this show that we're doing today would have been the 50th episode.
Yes, had we had a show last week, but
had we had a show last week. Unfortunately, it is only the 49th episode of Monday Madness, as you can see by the title, which would have made, I think, this particular exciting announcement a little bit more special. But there you go.
Special nonetheless. Special nonetheless.
Special nonetheless, because I'm going back to LA for the first time in 5 years. Since the summer of 2018.
Yes.
I'm going next week. 1 week today, as of the air date of this episode, I will be flying to LA and we will be seeing each other, Jeannine, in the flesh for the first time in over 4.5 years.
Yes. The last time we saw each other, I think, was when I was visiting the UK in 2019, like February of 2019.
February 2019
Yes.
was the last time we actually saw each other personally. And this is very exciting, obviously. Now, we should say there will be exciting things to come on the channel itself, the It's a Wonderful Podcast YouTube channel. Subscribe, ding your notification bells here for all the fun stuff that will be coming to here, some of which will be based around our little coming together that we're going to be having.
I think we plan on taking full opportunity of actually being in the same place at the same time.
Yes, a very rare thing
create,
that happens, really.
Create some content for you guys, so stay tuned for that.
Yes, it's going to be exciting. If you are not watching this week's episode of Monday Madness, and you are listening on whatever podcast platform you may be listening on, go on over to YouTube, go to the It's a Wonderful Podcast channel, subscribe, ding your notification bells if you haven't already, of course. For all those fun things we have coming up. It's very, very exciting. I'm not saying it's going to be ram-packed full of things, but there will be some exciting looking videos coming from that particular trip. And I, for one, am massively excited. Obviously, I spent the whole summer of 2018, or 2 months of it, in 2018 in LA. You were there for a lot of that time, Jeannine. You were coming around, hanging out, and all that kind of stuff. We will be back. I will be back, I should say. I will be back over there. It's very exciting for me. I haven't been to the US since 2018, actually. So it's extra specially exciting. There's a lot of friends things involved and things like this. Just from a personal point of view, I'm looking forward to it enormously. And of course, seeing you, not that we don't see each other, 400 times every week anyway, thanks to doing these shows and sorting out these shows and talking to each other pretty much every single day. It's not exactly like it's going to be a friends catching up time for us, is it?
No, not at
all. Because we're pretty well versed on what each other's
what's going on. Yes, we talk daily. We do these 3 shows together. So I think, it won't be a, hey, how have you been type situation.
Certainly not. Certainly not. But very, very exciting nonetheless. Now, I will ask the question. Let's get straight on into it, because we do have an awful lot of craziness and news and trailers to get into today. So, Jeannine.
We have quite a few things up today, Morgan. We usually typically go into some new trailers that have come out, so we have a couple of those to discuss. We can start talking about the Nun 2 trailer. For me, this was kind of a test for me, because while I do enjoy the concept of the Conjuring universe, I've seen, I think, the first 2 Conjuring films and the first Annabelle movie. That's kind of all I've seen of this universe. So with this trailer, I kind of went into it with the idea, if this trailer kind of gets me excited to go back and watch those other ones, I definitely think that's something I'm going to do and revisit this whole kind of universe of films. And I thought it was pretty fun, like scary looking trailer. So I think I might actually go back and revisit the universe, and so that I'll be prepared to check out this new Nun 2 movie.
I think that's a good sign. I think that's probably what the trailer kind of wanted, as a reaction from some people. I am in a similar boat to you, really. I think I love the fact that the Conjuring universe exists. And I enjoy that we have a really kind of steady and successful and popular horror series, horror universe, horror franchise at that. That people continually really do like, even though the movies themselves might not be the most lauded movies. And I think the first Nun movie, I didn't see the first Nun movie, but I think that first Nun movie, I think it did really well, but wasn't critically loved or anything like that. It kind of reminds me in a weird way to what the first Annabelle movie was. The first Annabelle movie is not great.
No.
The second Annabelle movie, Annabelle Creation, is really a big
that's what I heard.
up.
Yeah, that's what I heard.
And maybe we're in for a situation where this second Nun movie does something similar. To what that did, and ends up being a little bit of a step up in that way, because we've got what 8, 9-ish movies in this Conjuring
in the universe
now. 3 main Conjuring movies, 3 Annabelle movies,
La Llorona, and the Nun. So then the second one will be, I think, like the 9th movie. In the
and then I think there's a fourth Conjuring movie in development as well, as far as I'm aware. So it's it's not going anywhere, and that's because they're a profitable series. They're
Yes.
always profitable
Mhm.
movies. They do
And
well. They are
yes, and
popular.
this just isn't my vein of horror. I'm more of kind of a slashers type person, so the possession kind of, supernatural horror is not really my, most favorite, subgenre of horror. So that's why I think I haven't been completely connected to those movies, but like you said, like, I'm very much a fan of the idea of having this really cool connective, um horror universe. So yeah, this
Yeah.
trailer looks like fun. It looks creepy, scary, lots of cool visuals. Um, kind of, I guess, more going into the story of the nun and their origins and things like that. So yeah, I think I might actually go back and revisit the rest of those Conjuring universe films I missed so that I can
Yeah.
actually go see this in theaters. So
And Taysa Farmiga is our lead in this movie as well. So,
yes, yeah.
keep it in the Farmiga family.
Yes, yes, that's a really
Why
fun bit
not
of
do that?
casting, yeah, with that. So,
It,
yeah.
it's even nicer on that front. It makes it feel like out of just being the movies themselves. Like, I think when movie universes, movie series can do fun real world stuff as well, like have the
Yeah,
sister of your really
mm,
famous main protagonist play a character in a later
yes,
on movie and that kind of stuff.
yeah, yeah,
It's doubly fun in that way. I think that'll obviously excite people. I think it probably excite people because really, I think didn't the nun have something personal with Lorraine Warren
yes, because I
in
think
the
it was a
second
paint
Conjuring
yeah, it
movie?
was like a painting that she had made or, that Patrick Wilson had painted, I think, and, like,
Yeah,
kind of the presence of the nun was something that actually played into the events of that second Conjuring movie.
yeah,
Like her spirit was kind of behind what was kind of happening. So, yeah, they actually had a pretty solid kind of through line and setup with the nun in that second Conjuring movie leading into these. So, there is some kind of connection with Lorraine and that character. And I had seen a teaser trailer for this that was actually kind of pretty scary. So getting to see the full on trailer, I mean, a lot of really interesting visuals like the magazines. I thought that was a really cool shot of
yeah.
all of them kind of making the shape of the nun and, um,
I think you always tend to get that sort of stuff with
yeah,
these Conjuring style movies, and like you said before, I don't think they're my favorite style of horror.
yeah,
It doesn't necessarily, I there are some possession movies and supernatural movies that I really, really do like. I just don't necessarily think that kind of 2010s style of that
iteration of
particular
them.
version of
Yeah,
horror is my favorite, but you can't dispute the popularity and success
yeah,
of the Conjuring movies. They've been going for over 10 years now
yeah,
and aren't stopping anytime soon.
yeah.
So I hope it does well, and I hope it's a better movie than the first Nun was supposed to be. Like I said, not that
Yes, because
I've
I heard the first
seen
one
it.
wasn't well received. I think La Llorona act fits in the universe as well. That was not, um, well received either. But I mean, these movies, they make them for fairly low budget, so
Yeah,
easily they can kind of do whatever and recoup their investment in those movies. So just a really
that's what they're there
smart,
for.
yeah, a really smart kind of business model with Blumhouse. So
Yeah,
yeah,
you
yeah,
cannot fault Blumhouse, and you cannot fault the Conjuring universe from a successful point of view. The Nun 2,
yes.
are you excited for the Nun 2? Do let us know. We do have this other trailer, though, which is, of course, Bob Marley, One Love,
Yes.
a biopic of. It doesn't seem like it's Bob Marley's entire life. It seems like it's a particular period in his life
Yeah.
when he's suffered an assassination attempt and then gone
Yes.
back to Jamaica to put
To
on a
do this
peace concert.
yes, and probably just kind of getting into, a lot of his, messaging in his music, and
Yeah,
that'll be kind of the focus, of what this story is gonna tell.
I think I prefer biopics like this. I think I always prefer, kind of bit part biopics rather
Yeah.
than let's tell the story of somebody's entire life in the space of 2 hours, 10 minutes. Like, no. Let's tell one particular thematic story that is encapsulated in this person's life by really kind of one series of events.
Yeah, I think those ones work better. Things like My Week with Marilyn or Spencer, you know, just taking a look at a small chunk of period of time, because like something like Elvis, that was spanning his whole life, and so kind of was just overblown and a lot going on, and so much to follow, and so much that, you know, kind of could fall in the cracks of glaring inaccuracies and things like that. But if you focus on one specific time, I think you're getting a more accurate portrayal. You're getting to be more character focused, really seeing them at a certain point of time in their life, getting to see behind the scenes of a time period where we were maybe most familiar with them, but us getting a more inside look at what was going on with them internally, or, you know, things that maybe we didn't see, you know, at the time, but it was a time where we as fans knew the person really well or saw a lot of them. So I think it's a great kind of thing to focus on a specific time period when you're doing a biopic instead of a whole life story. Can get kind of over bloated, I think. So yeah, I like that they're focusing on this one period of time. You know, I think he was one of those great musical figures who could entertain but also educate. You know, you have like your Bob Dylan and
I mean, ridiculously so. If you want a ridiculously famous musician who is equal parts known for their political messaging, look no further than Bob Marley.
Yes,
all about the just chill out and love each other kind of attitude, isn't it?
Yeah.
And stop fighting for God's sake. It is all about that sort of stuff. One love, that's what it's all about.
Yeah,
you know,
and I
that's
love
big deal.
And it's a great chunk of messaging that we really need right now in this country. And I like that his son is involved in the creation of this movie, so we're getting like, you know, a respectful depiction
Ziggy
of
Marley.
things. Yes, I do believe he's involved.
Marley's involved, is he?
Yes,
Okay.
I do believe he's involved in kind of behind the scenes aspects of the movie. So
well, there you go. Well, that's I think that's enjoyable as well. That shows that it's not going to be exploitative. I don't think we wouldn't want it to be something like that. I think it would be a little bit unfortunate, be drastically unfortunate to somebody like Bob Marley if you did have a biopic that was in that vein. Kingsley Ben-Adir is going to be playing Bob Marley as well in this movie. I mean, he's doing pretty intense work on Secret Invasion at the moment. So it's going to be a little bit unusual, I think, to see him pull off a, you know, obviously, or at least the facade of relaxation that Bob Marley
and the accent and everything.
Off.
Yes, because it's like
because he's British, so
yes, and
I mean,
so,
I don't even know if he's ethnically Jamaican. You know, I don't know. I don't even know
if he has any familiarity with that. Because I mean, the only things I've seen him in, he's playing characters with a bit of intensity. Obviously, you know, Secret Invasion and playing Malcolm X. So now getting him to see this chilled out kind of personality will be interesting.
I think if he does it well, it'll just be a you know, a showcase of range, which is kind of what you want from actors, really, isn't it? A lot of the time. I've always kind of liked Bob Marley, you know, as far as not from a distance, I suppose that would be wrong of me to say. There are a good selection of Bob Marley songs that I tend to enjoy.
Yeah.
I'm not going to say I'm like the biggest reggae fan in the world or anything like that. I don't necessarily think that's true. But you can't dispute the influence he had, the quality of a lot of those, you know, more notable songs. The passion they were sung with, the emotion they were sung with. You know, you think of, there's a particularly wonderful live version of No Woman, No Cry, which is just beautiful to listen to.
Yeah.
So I hope we get some good performances in this movie as well.
Yes. Yeah.
I think we will. I like the look of it.
Yeah.
And I like the more focused kind of feel of it as well, rather than this
long-spanning,
biopic.
lifetime. Yeah. Yeah, no, it looks good. I'm excited to see it.
Yes, definitely. Well, what else did we want to talk about now? Should we talk about this recent bit of let's bring a certain superhero back for a new superhero movie?
Yes. I mean, I was actually pretty excited about this news, and I think it's leading people to kind of theorize the potential plot line of this new Deadpool movie. So it was recently announced that Jennifer Garner's Elektra will be appearing in this new Deadpool movie, and people are really excited, and people may be speculating that it could be leading to a Deadpool comic storyline where Deadpool kills the X-Men. So it might be a comedic version of that where he kills the Fox X-Men universe, because it's been this kind of wishy-washy mishmash of good and bad films and messy plot points and
Are you
bad
suggesting
attempts
that
of the Phoenix Saga and
Are you suggesting that all this big hype about Hugh Jackman getting Wolverine again, not that, by the way, I'm even in love with that happening, because Logan was such a perfect send-off for him as Wolverine, and then to seemingly just say, oh, come back for this. I just hope it's a stupid role and not taken seriously. Of course, it will be a stupid role. It's Deadpool.
Well, yeah, I mean, Halle Berry was teasing. She has like the the white hair, and kind of been teasing things that she might be in it. So that's what's leading people to believe it now with this Elektra thing. And they actually
Is
did a movie
Affleck's
together.
Daredevil gonna be there as well? Is
I
Nick
mean, I don't.
Cage and Ghost Rider gonna be there as well?
I mean, that would be really, really fun. I would love that, because you know me.
Are they gonna get Chris Evans to come back into the MCU,
as
but
as,
as
as Johnny Storm?
Like,
I
what's
mean,
going on here?
no, because this was like, I love this era. I low key love this era of superhero movies, because they weren't great, but it was just like you felt the excitement of them actually attempting to bring these comic book characters to life, and so it was very exciting. Despite the quality. So I love a lot of those movies. I actually really love Daredevil. I wanted to love Elektra, but it just was not a very well-crafted movie.
But do
But I
you like
loved.
this trend of bringing these not particularly renowned superhero movies, superhero casting back for whether it's legitimate feeling cameos or
Just
what
for a bit of
we
fun.
kind of hope this is going to be, this, Jennifer Garner's Elektra in Deadpool 3 going to be, is going to be more of a, okay, let's kill that off, probably literally, with Deadpool lightly slashing these people in half and then saying, haha, you're dead, now it's my turn, or something like that.
Yes, I think what harm does that do? Because these movies obviously had their era of not being seen as particularly good. So if you can at least reinvigorate it and have these actors really have fun with these characters that you think that maybe they hated doing or were embarrassed by, and them actually kind of having fun embracing it in that Deadpool vein of really self-referential nonsense, I think it could be so much fun and such a huge thing for, putting some love on this era of what superhero movies started as, because we wouldn't have what we have today without those movies, like your Daredevils and your Fantastic Fours and things like that. So
I just hope that they are doing them now. And yes, okay, I think it will be, given the fact it's in, the Deadpool movie. It will be treated comedically with silliness and maybe as just a let's hype this up just for them to have like 1 second of screen time and to be immediately killed by Deadpool, which I think would be funny, and I think it genuinely would be hilarious if that is what happens with Wolverine, by the way. I think it'd annoy so many people, and that's why I think it'd be funny. But you are not going to do this kind of thing better than it was done in Spider-Man No Way Home. I don't think I don't think that is the absolute
Well, I mean, we got a little
most
bit of
perfect way of doing something like that.
and we got a little bit of that, which was a mishmash of all these different kinds of things in Doctor Strange, the Multiverse of Madness.
Yes, we
So
did.
we get the casting, the kept casting from a show that didn't do very well in the Marvel
I do
universe.
forget.
We
Do you know
get
what? I did block out that Patrick Stewart was in Multiverse of
yes.
Madness. I completely blocked that out.
But even like the Inhuman show and keeping that casting of Anson Mount
Yeah.
as that character, and in his kind of more familiar comic accurate costume, we get Professor X, but it's this combination of the animated series and the movie. So he's in the same wheelchair, he's wearing the same green suit as the character from the animated series.
Yeah.
But you even hear the music cue from the animated series, but it's the actor who played him in the movie. So we get this weird mishmash. All for them to be killed, you know, mind you. We get this fan casting of John Krasinski as your Mr. Fantastic. So it was a really fun thing. You see all these characters get completely just killed, but it was just a fun little bit of like wink to the camera type moment. So
yeah, and I have to
mean
say, I enjoyed it in Multiverse of Madness. So I hope that yes, that is the kind of attitude that is taken with it. I
'cause
think what people
I
were
didn't
saying.
mind.
I think what people were saying fairly recently about all that they tried doing in The Flash, and certainly what you were saying, I mean, go and watch your, big detailed conversation you had on The Flash on the channel. All the people that were cameoed or CG cameoed or all these kind of stupid things in The Flash.
Yeah.
It just felt so like, what is the point? Why are you doing this? But I think I have to de-sour my mind into the fact that the way they've actually been done in the MCU stuff has actually either been really, really meaningfully, a la No Way Home, or hilariously kind of, oh, you're here, how exciting, bang, dead.
Yes, and
Multiverse of Madness.
it's again, I like the idea of these actors really coming back and having fun with the idea of these iterations of the characters. Even, you know, Peggy Carter being the Captain America and
Yeah.
Lashana Lynch being
Carter.
yes.
Give her British flag credit. She is not Captain America. She is Captain Carter of Britain.
Yes, Captain Carter. Yes, sorry, apologies.
Britain.
Yes, Maria Rambeau.
The most patriotic you'll ever see me.
Maria Rambeau being that version of, you know, Spectrum. So yeah, I like the actors kind of having fun with that, going into this knowing they're going to be killed, but knowing the excitement that it's going to mean for fans, seeing these iterations to these characters in this kind of other universal kind of situation. So I like the idea of that, even with the Spider-Man coming back. I mean, they got a lot of shit for some things. You know, Tobey Maguire obviously ended his franchise on not the best note. People did not like Andrew Garfield's films. Andrew Garfield also did not end his on a very, you know, positive note. But the fact that they can still have love for these characters they played in and know the excitement that that's going to bring to fans and come back and do it, is fun for me as a fan to see the actors, you know, take something that could be seen as a negative on their career or an embarrassment on their career and kind of reverse it and make it a beloved, fun, exciting thing for fans again. I think is really cool as well. So if a lot of these actors come back, because even in Days of Future Past, when it was like all of these actors from the first X-Men film come back just for a brief nothing scene, that was like my favorite part of the movie. Seeing the X-Men and seeing everybody come back was just so exciting for me. Even, you know, Famke and the small bit she had in that movie,
tiny bit.
James Marsden, seeing them again and seeing that they you know, despite how tiny a role it was very significant and meant something to fans. So I love that no matter what's going to happen to these characters, whether they were embarrassing in their time or embarrassing for the actor at the time and they didn't get a lot of love for it in the moment, that they still would have the kind of nerve and guts and love for the fans to come back and do it no matter what the context. I think is just a really cool thing. So I'm excited.
Yeah, that's a fair point. A fair point there. And perhaps it will turn into Deadpool killing off all the alternative Marvel
and the fact that it would
situations.
be him killing off the Fox X-Men, considering that was such a contentious thing, that Fox itself is kind of dead and all of that. I think
this
just a funny
does this
thing.
beg the question? Does this beg the question whether they would actually bring back the people from those Fantastic Four movies?
I
That were
mean,
Fox movies, right?
yes,
They were Fox movies.
Fantastic Four was Fox, Daredevil was Fox, and
Elektra was Fox.
Elektra, and yeah, that was Fox as well.
And the X-Men's obviously were Fox as well.
Yeah.
So what if in a strange way, no, I'm getting ahead of myself. What if they bring everybody back and then you literally just have one scene of Wade Wilson just going /dead, /dead, just constantly through, and it'd be super violent, it'd be super horrible, like that Multiverse of Madness scene, but he's just gleefully kind of going, aha,
Yes.
not you anymore,
Nope,
not you anymore,
you didn't make
not
the
you
cut.
either, not you
Yes.
either.
But it would just be this very cool self-referential thing, not just of a comic book, but of the studio itself and these
Yeah.
superhero movies that they produced, and that era of comic book movies as well. It would be killing all of that kind of as a fresh start moving forward now, kind of
But it would have
commentary.
to be treated. It would have to be treated comedically and not in like a we are erasing these movies, because we don't want that.
No,
Those
we
movies
just
are very special.
Yes, even the bad
Just
ones.
treat it as a joke. Just treat it
Yes.
as a joke.
Yeah.
So yeah, maybe I'll have to wallow on the idea of this a bit more, and perhaps when we get more clarity on Deadpool 3, I will become more into.
And there are actually
whatever
some
it
of these
is.
movies mentioned here that you have not seen, and we did our kind of fringe DC series on Morgan Hasn't Seen, so we have discussed doing a fringe Marvel as well. So we actually may be seeing Daredevil and Elektra on that on
possibly.
that playlist for an upcoming Morgan Hasn't Seen series. So that'll be exciting.
I feel like was it that there were just enough fringe Marvel movies that I hadn't seen?
Yes,
that we didn't have to go into like the really tragically bad like early 90s and 80s Captain America and
yeah, I think we had
stuff.
enough. I think we had Ghost Rider, we had the Elektra and Daredevil movies. I'm trying to think what else. I know you've seen Blade. I know you've seen the Fantastic Four.
But I don't think you've seen this. It was
Fan Four Stick, yes. And you haven't seen the second. I don't think you've seen the second Fantastic Four movie, right?
I certainly have Rise of the Silver Surfer. Yes.
Oh, okay. Just checking.
Actually, thank you.
Okay. All right. So yes, we had Fan Four Stick, we had Ghost Rider, those two movies. I don't even think I've seen the second Ghost Rider, actually.
That's a series right there. That is a series right there.
Yes.
That's good enough for a series.
So yes, definitely something we need to do before this Deadpool movie comes out, for sure.
Good idea. Keep it, write it in the ideas pool.
Yes.
There it is, with all the other 1,000 other things we've got in the ideas pool.
Yes.
But yeah, Elektra in Deadpool 3, Jennifer Garner.
So
She's
fun.
back. She's back. What do we want to talk about next? Perhaps we will leave our review or your solo review, I suppose, of Joyride to coincide with
UK release schedules constantly ruin things.
Yes, they do.
Have me doing solo reviews.
I'm more likely to go and see Joyride when I'm in LA than I am here, because I can just go and see it when I'm there, and I would have to wait even another week when I get back, I think, to actually see Joyride. So maybe we'll leave that review to kind of coincide with our other review that we have today, of course. And what about this little fun thing you wanted to bring up,
I
Janine, that I
mean,
have
I
written
know
down in front of me?
I mean, I know we don't normally get into celebrity gossip type situations, but we here love ourselves some Keke Palmer. And this is just
Yeah.
like a big debate that's been brewing. I think there's not too many people on one side of the debate. I think there's more people on the side backing our beloved Keke Palmer. She has kind of, she's always been around. She's always been hustling, working hard. I've always had so much respect for her as a beautiful dark-skinned Black actress is out there doing everything, singing, acting, hosting. She's created her own
What was the show
network.
she was in? What was the was it Disney Channel show she was in?
Jackson VP, True Jackson VP.
True Jackson VP. Yes, I remember
Yes.
that. Yes.
So yeah, she's constantly been around, but like I think she's been more in people's you know, lexicon now, just kind of people finally seeing her and crediting her for the amazing person she is. She's just funny. She's, I think Nope really, kind of introduced her to people who maybe haven't really been focused on her as of late, and people have just fallen in love with her because she's just so chill, she's so funny, she's smart, she's beautiful, she has so much confidence. So recently, she's just had her baby. I think her baby's about 4 months old now with her longtime boyfriend. And she went to an Usher concert. Usher does this thing in his concerts where he'll go and he'll serenade somebody. He's done it to so many celebrities who have visited his show. I think Zendaya and Tom Holland were at his show, and he did like a little serenade for Zendaya. He did it to Issa Rae. So it's just a thing he does. If he knows like one of his celebrity friends are in, he'll definitely go. But he's done it to like random people as well. Like that's just part of his show.
I bet Zendaya didn't take him on though. You know what Zendaya's like? Zendaya's like, do not touch me, I'm with Tom.
Yes.
She's like that with everybody. You get all these videos of like, don't get it. She elbows people out of the way.
Yeah, she tries to be really.
Tom Holland is allowed to touch Zendaya.
Yes. So I don't remember. I want to say, he kind of serenaded her, but I don't remember.
Also,
but I've seen.
I forgot Usher existed.
What? That's terrible. No,
where's he been for like 15 years? What's
I
he been
think
doing?
I think he actually has like his show is a Vegas residency type thing. Like he roller skates and does it. Like his show is very popular.
So he's Barry Manilow now.
Vegas residencies are not seen as like, we've had Celine Dion, Britney Spears, J-Lo, like huge, Mariah Carey, huge names do Vegas residencies. Okay, well, get into modern times, Morgan.
Sammy Davis Jr.
Oh my, how old are you? Anyway, so it's a thing that Usher does in his shows. He goes and he kind of serenades somebody. And so Keke was in Vegas with her girlfriends having a great time. She's wearing like this cute bodysuit with a sheer dress over top. She had, some areas showing, looking good.
Areas?
Like, yes. It's been a whole thing with her that she's really loved her post-baby body and has been really confident about it. So she was at this show with her girlfriends. Usher is serenading her. The video kind of went viral of him singing to her and all this. And her boyfriend proceeds to quote tweet the video saying, "It's the outfit for me though. You a mom." And so people were like, "What? Excuse me?" So people kind of were giving him the benefit of the doubt, trying to like, oh, maybe he's just joking. But then he doubled down and like came out with this whole statement which said the following
statement.
Yes.
Oh, God.
We live in a generation where a man of the family doesn't want the wife and mother to his kids to showcase booty cheeks to please others.
Booty cheeks.
And he gets told how much of a hater he is. This is my family and my representation. I have standards and morals to what I believe. I rest my case.
I have questions.
Okay.
My first question is, if Keke Palmer wants to allow her, as he so pleasantly put it, booty cheeks to sway in the wind, I was gonna say then. That's what booty cheeks do, isn't it?
Swaying in the wind.
Sway in the wind like leaves on a tree.
Yeah.
If KEKE Palmer wants to do that, why shouldn't she be allowed to do that?
Exactly. So that
And
was the
also,
whole debate.
why is it? What's the problem, dude? Relax.
Exactly. So I think the majority of people were on Kiki's side, but I've actually seen a couple people, like this girl, she made a video talking about why is this man telling Kiki what she can and can't wear. Then she made a follow-up video. She's like, oh, I spoke too soon. Once, she turned around and I saw the back of her dress. Now I kind of agree with the boyfriend and think that's so disrespectful. My husband would never let me wear anything like that. And how dare she wear that? She's got a
I understand
boyfriend, she's got a
morals,
baby,
right?
blah, 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 whatever.
I
So there
understand
is a
morals.
debate out there of people kind of agreeing with the boyfriend and saying that's disrespectful to him. And him even posting that, of course, got a bunch of guys siding with him, shaming Kiki for what she wore and things like that as well, which is so inappropriate and so wrong. So
I understand having, morals and wanting, to craft a nice family image and all that kind of stuff. Perfectly reasonable desire. But do that as your family. This is still, you're not now one entity. You're still two
yeah.
people. You can go off and do whatever you want to do.
Exactly. And
She
he's over
can
here
go off
saying
and do whatever
wife
she
and
wants.
mother of his child. She's not his wife. He did not put a ring on that finger, sir.
Well, that's irrelevant.
And
I
people
still think that's irrelevant because we shouldn't be controlling people, should we? This is the thing.
exactly,
It's
married or not.
It's fine to have morals. We can have. I don't mind that. Look, I'm somebody that doesn't like showing a lot of my own. I don't like wearing shorts, and things like that. I don't like showing off my own bodily features a great deal. So perhaps you could say, I like to cover up or whatever you want to say. But that's not somebody else telling me to do it. It's my own decision. She's not going, fondling anybody.
No.
Or anything like
No.
this. She's going to a concert that she wants to go to. She's having a good time at the concert. It's not her fault if everybody's looking at her going, oh, isn't KEKE Palmer very attractive? It's not anybody's fault, is
Yeah,
it?
that's irrelevant to her. And she was just having a good time. And so the fact that and then people kind of have pulled up like old posts from him where he actually
He's
posted
a
a picture
weirdo, isn't he?
sitting on his bed, shirtless in his like boxer briefs, talking about dad bod. So how is that not? You're a father, sir. How dare you put your picture of yourself in your underwear? How is that good representation as a father, posting pictures of yourself in your underwear? So like people have been, pulling up receipts and all of that. And Miss KEKE herself has seemed very unbothered with her very subtle reactions to things. Right after kind of all this happened and he said what he said, she posts a series of pictures in that outfit saying, I wish I could have posted more pictures, but I just didn't have time. And then she does a video kind of dancing, talking with the audio about, you're not going to tell me what to do kind of energy. And then she also posts a video of her with her baby singing Stevie Wonder's Isn't He Lovely? And basically her caption talks about, I'm a mother and, becoming a mother has made me the most confident I've ever been. And then she proceeds to show that she's selling merch saying, mother on like a sweatshirt. And then another, yes. And then another shirt that says Stevie, I think it's like Stevie to the bullshit. So like blind to the bullshit. Because she was singing a Stevie Wonder song. So yes.
Okay.
So yeah,
this is all
and
fun, isn't it?
people have said that they've unfollowed each other on socials. And also somebody I guess he DM'd some girl talking about flying her out. And the girl shared like the DM saying, not Kiki's baby daddy in my DMs right now. So immediately after they've potentially broken up, he's already like in somebody's DMs trying to fly them out. So with whose money?
Dear.
With whose money, sir?
Well, it's not a nice. It's not a nice way of potentially splitting or anything like that, really, is it? We don't wish this on people. We don't
No, I
want
mean,
this to
they're
happen.
4 months into being parents together, and so then to kind of really have this man show these colors of not respecting her and kind of shaming her, and even if that's how he felt, why would you decide to say that on social media, on Twitter?
Well,
And,
that is a good point.
that is a
Yes, you do it
conversation to
privately,
have with
don't
her
you?
privately. So
Yes,
I
I would
think the
think so.
public kind of, and that invited other men to shame her as well. So,
Yes, we
yeah,
don't like that.
I think that's the biggest thing as well. So, much love to KEKE Palmer. You knew who this confident woman was when you got with her. Nothing was going to change after she had a baby. She was still going to be the same person, and if not even more confident than she was. And so yeah,
I
I don't
just
know.
like I just my favorite part of all this is learning that Usher has just become the new Barry Manilow.
Stop that! Don't you?
Vegas residencies, that all he can do these days? There was one time when Usher was very good and popular.
Vegas residencies are not what they used to be. You're kind of talking about Vegas residencies like celebrities used to talk about, like movie actors used to talk about doing TV.
I am, yes, I am
And
exactly talking about them like that, yes.
yes, and now Oscar-winning actors are doing TV shows. So definitely kind of an evolution in terms of what those things were used to be and are. So
Okay, fair enough, Usher, good for you, making your money.
yeah, and then he even
Well done.
decided to like tweet, "Am I trending?" Smiley face.
For the first time since what, 2010?
Stop! Leave Usher alone. You were really coming for his throat, like. But yes, and then obviously there's kind of the jokes of like, "Who is you, sir? Nobody knew your name until this happened. Like, what do you do? Why you're sitting on KEKE Palmer's internet talking shit about KEKE Palmer on a phone that KEKE Palmer probably paid for? Because what do you do, sir?" I saw somebody was like,
A fair
"So
question.
KEKE Palmer's employee got on the internet." Because I think he actually like works on her, like
Oh,
produces
God.
things for her network, Key TV. So
Oh, okay.
yes,
This
and
is a whole
he's like yes,
situation.
he is the brother of an actor who was on Insecure. Like that's the only connection I can
Okay.
make of him. So yes, it's a whole thing, but I just wanted to talk about it because there was a bit of a debate happening. Some people
Weird.
siding with this guy, I think majority people siding with KEKE, and wanted to get your kind of thoughts on like how do you feel about, a woman's role and what she should wear, and if, you saw any kind of understanding in this guy's perspective or yes.
Well, people just do whatever they want. You've just got to trust. If you're in a parental relationship, not that I'm in a parental relationship, obviously, but I just think you have to trust each other, let each other be themselves individually.
Yeah.
But at least for the love of God, trust each other to not, do anything untoward. Like,
Yeah.
what's the difference between doing that or going to the beach and wearing a bikini?
Exactly.
There's no visual difference, is there? So
Yeah.
I don't suppose that would be a problem for him. So I
Yeah.
don't really get it. I don't really get why we shouldn't be trying to control people. That's my take on it.
Yeah.
Whoever we are, like, and it shouldn't be going the other way. If this was the other direction as well, and he was parading around wearing next to nothing, and she was coming for him, and it would be like, you are a father, do not parade around
Yes.
yourself. It'd be the exact same situation of just like, well, what's the man doing wrong?
Yeah.
Not doing anything wrong. Let him do what he wants. Let him wear what he wants. No harm caused. So it's the
Yes.
exact same situation. Let's just not try and control each other.
Yes. Agreed.
That's my
So yes,
takeaway.
just the hot goss right now. And I
Oh
wanted to,
yes.
discuss. So
Well, we did have one more little news piece. I think we did want to talk about.
yes, that we have missed kind of talking about.
We did miss it. We talked about some of the rumors based around the casting
Yeah.
for James Gunn's Superman legacy. It has been confirmed in the last couple of weeks that David Corenswet is going to be our new Superman. I think visually, from what we spoke about that last time we talked about those rumors, I think he was probably visually the best one.
Yes, which I saw Double Toasted's reaction to the news, which was really funny. They were like, "This dude looks exactly like Henry Cavill." Henry Cavill's like looking at this casting like, "They fired me to hire me." Like, what the hell?
He kind of does look like a younger Henry Cavill. He really does.
Yeah.
But I think, like we said last time, I think the only thing a lot of people really know him from is Pearl. And unfortunately, still I haven't seen Pearl, which deeply does annoy me. I'm still waiting to even buy those movies because I'm waiting for the inevitable lovely trilogy box set.
Yes, yeah.
I'll watch Pearl at some point. I'll watch Pearl before Maxine. Don't worry about that. Okay, don't worry about that. I'm very excited for it.
Yay.
To finally watch it. Sometimes, you just miss things. But the point is, that's what a lot of people knew him from, or know him from. So I am unfamiliar with him, which I'm really happy with. I'm really happy that it's somebody we don't really know that well.
And I think that is kind of the legacy of Superman casting generally.
A little bit, yeah. It is. Which is good. It's good that it's like that. Because it is obviously it's such a big role, and it's really, I'm sure David Corenswet will go on to have a good, solid career, but he will now always be remembered for being a Superman.
Yeah.
And that's a big, big deal to have pretty early on in your life and pretty early on in your career. So, I hope he's wonderful in that role. And I hope that movie is as wonderful as it deserves to be, and every one of us, deserve it to be.
Yes. Well, we also are more familiar with the casting of Lois Lane because we are fans of the marvelous Mrs. Maisel. So I'm excited to see
Brosnahan.
Yes. I mean, she's very known as that character to be, kind of quick-witted and fast-talking, which feels a lot like Lois. So,
but you know what it feels like though, and maybe this is just me only knowing Rachel Brosnahan from Mrs. Maisel, which is obviously a 50s set show.
Yeah.
Does it not just feel like Lois
weird
Lane
seeing her? Yes. It'll be weird seeing her as like a modern day person.
It will. It will. But if she can bring that same energy, that determined kind of no holds barred, yet really feminine energy that Mrs. Maisel has, that Midge Maisel has to Lois Lane, that's perfect Lois Lane, because Lois Lane's a powerhouse, determined force.
Yes.
Of an investigative journalist that I don't think Amy Adams ever got a chance to really shine as Lois.
Yeah, I mean, she had those moments of kind of ignoring authority and doing her own thing, but we didn't really get to develop that hard-nosedness as much as I think we could have had we gotten a pure Superman sequel, which I just sad for Henry that he never got that they just lumped him into this rushed universe immediately instead of giving him a fleshed out, because Man of Steel was more of an origin movie, so we didn't get that movie of him being Clark Kent and living that dual life, and he didn't get that opportunity, the full opportunity. Like, I would have felt better about the loss of his casting had I feel like he got to really delve into a pure iteration of that role, getting to have his Daily Bugle life. And I feel like Brandon
Daily
Routh
Bugle.
got
You're in the wrong.
Oh, sorry.
You're in the wrong
Sorry.
universe.
The Daily Planet. Daily Planet. Daily Planet. I think even Brandon Routh got more of that dual life experience than Cavill did. So that's my biggest kind of sadness for Henry Cavill, that he just didn't get to like really do the full Superman thing.
Yeah. We have faith that it will be in this new Superman Legacy movie, though.
Yes.
And I certainly think tonally, David Corenswet and Rachel Brosnahan seem like they will bring somewhat more levity to proceedings. I think there'll be a certain level of humour, not hilarious, fun goofiness, but humour, as well as the genuinely good dramatic performance that you would want.
Yes, and obviously attractive people being attractive together is
yes,
attractive.
You can't fault that. You can't fault that. I think we're happy about that. And I wish that movie all the best. I really do. I can't wait to see it.
Yes, I'm really excited. I think this casting looks really good, so I'm excited. But with that, I also wanted to do something a little bit fun. We kind of started this thing after the whole Al Pacino, young Robert De Niro, who's hotter debate, and kind of started doing it like this weekly for a few shows, and then we stopped. So I thought, this would be a good opportunity to maybe bring back that fun little debate back with two actors who were originally in the running for the 1978 Superman movie. So two actors who were actually offered the role but turned it down were Robert Redford and Warren Beatty.
Are you going to ask the question of who's hotter?
So who's hotter?
Or Warren Beatty?
Who's hotter, young Robert Redford or young Warren Beatty?
Now, if you ask me, and we know how these things go, I actually do have. This does not come from Morgan's standpoint for genuine physical arousal attractiveness, as that's not the way I roll. Perhaps unfortunately for some, but fortunately for others. However, I have one very clear answer in this.
Oh, okay.
Actually. And it's Robert Redford. Like, it has to be Robert Redford, right?
Okay.
Does it not have to be Robert Redford?
Okay, why is your answer so sure?
Because from every possible source you get about Warren Beatty, he's a very arrogant man. Or at least he used to be.
Okay, so like you as a man, you have more than attractiveness to base your opinion on, because obviously you are not attracted to men.
Well,
you can appreciate men, but
for one, Carly Simon's song "You're So Vain's" about
Warren Beatty. Yes.
So if you listen to that song at any point in your life and you go, okay, he sounds like a piece of work. Yeah, that's Warren Beatty.
I mean, you can also blame Warren Beatty for why we didn't get Annette Bening as Catwoman in Batman Returns. Because he impregnated her.
God, a lovely phrase. Thank you for that. Although you can't fault who we did get as Catwoman, so I don't know what you're moaning about that for.
Yes.
Warren Beatty's very good at, but acting-wise, both wonderful, wonderful actors. Tough to decide between the two of them acting-wise, to be honest with you, and movie star-wise, and physical,
and filmmaking
handsome,
as well.
Filmmaking, yes, both good filmmakers in their own right. Physical handsomeness, very, very equal. I just believe Robert Redford is actually a lovely person. He's literally behind the Sundance Film Festival. He loves movies. He loves movie history. He can pull off a mustache and a beard and other such facial hair. Can Warren Beatty?
I like your list of criteria, because as a man who is not attracted to men, I like that you can find other bases for finding something attractive about another man that's not physical. That's very, very smart.
Can Warren Beatty do all those things?
I mean, Warren Beatty, a well-known womanizer before he ended up with Annette Bening.
This is the issue I have with Warren Beatty.
I mean, yes, Robert Redford, a man who did MCU films to appease his grandchildren. Like, I love
a wholesome, right? Lovely gentleman.
So yeah, I kind of have to lean towards Robert as well, because also my criteria is, do they still look pretty attractive now? Did they still do romantic roles where you found yourself attracted to them in later years? Both
Your
Warren
criteria is, would I get down with Robert
now
Redford?
in their 70s and 80s. Like, um, like, because these men have both played romantic roles well into later years.
Yeah.
So I mean, and who still looks good now?
Who
I
still looks good now?
I mean, when people were blaming saying the wrong name at the Oscars on Warren Beatty because of his age, I kind of didn't
Wasn't
have.
Warren Beatty's fault.
I am aware it's not his fault, but when people were saying that, it wasn't hard to believe that could have been a factor. That's all I'm saying. He looked very old on that stage. Whereas seeing Robert Redford in the most recent of MCU films, he did not look like an old man to me. Like, he looked old, but he didn't look like an old person. You know what I mean?
And I think it's because, and it's probably, I think Robert Redford's hair helps this. It's the fact that he's always been fair-haired compared to Warren Beatty's very dark hair.
Yeah.
So
So it's the aging
Warren
is
Beatty's
more
grey
prevalent.
hair looks more obvious than Robert Redford's kind of half ginger grey hair.
Yes.
So he naturally looks older.
But I'm just saying,
on
that stage, he looked old to me. In that movie, Robert Redford didn't look like super old to me. So
yeah, and that was all it. I mean, it wasn't the same time, but there's a few years difference there.
yes.
I don't know. I mean, they must be very similar
In
ages as
age,
well.
I would
They
think,
must be.
Yeah.
Because you think, what? Bonnie and Clyde's 67, Butch and Sundance is 69. They're probably about the same age in those movies.
Yeah. Yes.
Ish, I guess. Regardless.
So
Regardless, I think
is 86.
Robert Redford's 86. Okay.
Yes. Warren Beatty is
Oh,
86 as well. They are the same age.
Oh, perfect. They're the same
So yes,
age.
I would.
And Miss
I would.
Redford wins.
Yes, I would say yes. Robert Redford, more attractive. But I mean, in the younger days, yeah, even in younger days, I would go more for Robert than Warren.
Yeah, it comes down to the fact that Robert's not going to mess you around.
Yes, or have somebody make a song about how vain you are. So yes, I like your personality argument swayed me.
You know the lyrics of "You're So Vain." You walked into the party like you were walking onto a yacht. Your hat strategically dipped below one eye. Your scarf, it was apricot. So apricot. So he's wearing a hat that was dipped below an eye, but also an orange scarf.
Like, that's a lot going on. That's very peacock.
I know
behavior.
It was the early 70s.
He was
Warren.
Peacocking. Yeah.
I understand it was the early 70s, but you're
you
coming
look
across like a stereotype here.
Yes.
Anyway.
But then Robert Redford did say he didn't want to play Superman because he thought he was too famous. So.
Well, they did cast nobody at the time, Christopher Reeve, so it worked.
Yes.
He probably was too famous. I mean, he was enormous in the 70s.
Yes,
Robert
and they offered him a ton of money, and he said no. So yeah, another notch in his honorable belt.
Yeah, there you go. Who's hotter? Debate for this week. Who do you think? Who are you swayed by? You a Robert or a Warren fan?
If you're going by looks alone, who is hotter?
Or if you're not going by looks alone like me, and you're going by overall person.
Yes.
As I think you should. When deciding on attractive people, go by overall person. Don't just go for the most physically attractive person, because, you know, you might find them out to be horrible or boring.
Fair
Or
point.
both.
Looks aren't everything.
Warren.
Today's lesson.
Looks aren't everything. Today's lesson. Yeah. Well, reviews time, isn't it? It's reviews time now. So let's not actually officially call this our Let's Talk just yet, because you did have a review of a movie that you did see this week that I'm not going to be able to see. So please, Jeannine, for the next few minutes, go ahead with your solo review.
Yes. So I saw Joyride, the new kind of raunchy female-led Asian comedy. Really wanted to support this movie. It's very much in the vein of The Blackening, No Hard Feelings, these smaller, um, you know, movies highlighting POC people, women. So I'm really excited that we're getting a lot of movies like this because, you know, a lot of people talk about this being a dead genre, even female-led movies doing well being kind of an issue and not something that happens. So I was really excited to support this movie. It was a lot of fun. I always feel like these girl trip movies, if it makes me want to go on a girls trip with my friends, then it's been successful. You know, watching movies like Bridesmaids and Girls Trip, those movies like always make me want to just call my girlfriends and plan a trip or a get together or something like that, despite everything that goes wrong. You know, because by the end you kind of circle back and can laugh at things and come together and have these ridiculous, crazy stories, um, and even have fights and things happen, and then kind of come back together and only with a stronger kind of friendship. And so this movie definitely had that formula, but it worked. I was worried that a lot of the jokes were going to be things that I saw in the trailer, but there were actually some other things that weren't in there that were really funny. The four actresses, I think, had great chemistry. They all had really distinct, fun personalities and different personality dynamics, really things that are similar to kind of when you have friends from different facets of your life and you all come together. So it's like these two girls who you have your friend that you grew up with since childhood. Then you have your friend that you like met in school or college or from work or something. Then you have your cousin who's a relative who's kind of hanging out with you as a friend. So, and then when you have all of these kind of friendships from facets of your life coming together, it's going to be a weird mishmash of personalities and who's going to get along and not get along. Is there going to be some jealousy from one kind of set relationship in the group? So all of that plays into it. There's also a lot about because one of the girls, Ashley Park's character, she is adopted. You know, she has white parents, so she, you know, has always been you know, in this weird place in her life, not really knowing who she was. You know, she comes from she knows that she was born in China, so she considers herself a Chinese person, but also she's very much, you know, people keep telling her how white she is, how she acts white. The music she likes is white. Her parents are white, and she's just like them. So she really is dealing with this kind of crisis of not knowing where she belongs. So she takes this trip to China for work, but her friend who is Chinese, grew up Chinese, knows how to speak the language, all of that, very opposite from Ashley Park's character. Um, I think her name is Sherry Cola. She's a comedian. Um, she is kind of trying to talk her into, well, maybe while we're here, we can go see your birth mother. It's something we always talked about since you were little. And Ashley Park is very hesitant to do any of that. So it's very much like somebody with kind of self-hatred or self-confusion having to deal with that. So I like that they don't shy away from those things, or that the comedy takes away from that, or that the comedy, they have to kind of pick one or the other. It's a really great balance of kind of the raunchy comedy aspects, but also this real story of someone who's in this kind of mixed up place in terms of how they see themselves. And so there's a lot of heart. I think the movies like this definitely need to have a lot of heart mixed in as well. And I like No Hard Feelings did that really beautifully. So yeah, this movie is a really good balance of kind of cultural understanding of yourself and really fun. It very much like The Blackening, in that there were a lot of kind of in jokes in Asian culture that I think people can people who maybe aren't of that culture can understand or get. So it wasn't too far removed from people who aren't of, Chinese or Korean
Yeah.
descent to understand, but will mean more, I think, to people of those groups. Very much like the blackening. So just a lot of fun, really great comedy aspects. The raunchy stuff, I think, worked really well. The 4 actresses had really fun chemistry. Stephanie Hsu was great. She's a college friend of Ashley Park, so she doesn't get along with the childhood best friend. They kind of
Okay.
hate each other, so there's that whole thing. She lives in China, and she's a big actress, and people know her. She knows the culture very well, so it's like Ashley Park is kind of faced with the 3 other characters who can speak Chinese, who know the culture really well, and so she feels kind of like an outsider. So that adds to kind of her feelings as well. And yeah, it's just really funny. Some really great bits in there. It's a fun road trip movie. So overall, I had a ton of fun with Joyride. Just great chemistry of the 4 actresses, great comedic raunchy moments, laughed a lot, and it also had a lot of great emotional heart and good friendship stuff and good female stuff, and yeah, it was a lot of fun.
Safe to say that Joyride was a joy ride.
Yes, it was.
Yes, good.
Yeah.
Well, I'm doubly excited to watch that movie now, I must say. That's
Ooh.
very positive thoughts on
Yes.
Joyride there. We like that. Let's swiftly then move in to our Let's Talk for today, which is, of course, we've got to talk about Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny
Yes.
because we missed talking about it last week. Let's get right on into it. No holds barred, all the
Yes.
craziness that was in this movie. We're going to end this, I think, by giving our quick rankings, I think, of all the Indiana Jones movies, which I think mine are fairly self-explanatory. I think a lot of people's probably are self-explanatory unless you have a really glaring kind of love or a glaring dislike of one particular movie for one reason or another, which you may very well do when it comes to Indiana Jones, to be fair, but that's not the point, because let's get into it, Jeannine. I suppose this is our full review, spoiler review, of Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny and all its craziness. I happen to think that, well, I would like to start, actually, by saying I've seen a lot of people whinge and moan about Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny, Jeannine, and the
Yes.
fact that it goes to a particularly strange place by the movie's end. To which I would respond with, well, people's faces melted off in the first one. Somebody's heart was ripped out in the second one of a live person. There was a 1,000-year-old knight who'd just been standing around guarding the Holy Grail in the third one. And there was aliens in the fourth one. So why all of a sudden is the weirdness in the fifth one wrong?
Exactly. And the formula is the same as every other Indiana Jones movie. What did you expect to really be different?
Expect?
I mean, yes, there are some different elements because he's older, but it's like it opens the same. Like we have our big action set piece. We have our MacGuffin set up. We have Indy finding the MacGuffin. We have it getting taken away from him. We have him getting it back. We have him getting captured. Like that is the formula that literally happens.
Globe-trotting adventure with
Yes,
Indiana Jones. I
exactly.
don't get it.
Literally had the same plot points of all of the films. So did you expect this movie to do something drastically different? Because I have the feeling if you did, you would hate that it veered away from the familiar formula for the last
Right?
movie.
Like, yet you had story-wise, plot-wise, the same kind of things going on, what you would expect in an Indiana Jones movie. Tonally, still felt like a pulpy archaeological adventure. Thematically, felt like one last ride for a particularly kind of, I suppose, down on his own self-worth hero. Because
Yeah.
he's not in love with himself in this movie. He's Indiana
No.
Jones. He's really down on himself. He's kind of retiring from his professor
Yes, he's still
job.
dealing with the loss
And
of his marriage and the loss of his son, which I think was a
yes,
really interesting way to tie in the events of 4, which is kind of a movie people always like to forget, which I rewatched 4 and, not as bad as I think it kind of is set up to. I
no,
think
I
not
think
as
what
good as I think the others, but definitely not as bad as I think people have always made it feel over the years.
no, and I think a lot of people's issue with 4, at least looking back on it now, I think really the more obvious issues with 4, the fact that some of the effects look a bit iffy,
Yeah.
and which they never did in the
No, because we were
original
doing
3
practical
movies, because
things, yeah.
everything was practical.
Yeah.
Um, and there's the alien aspect, which, yes, okay, at that point was the weirdest thing that the Indiana
Yes,
Jones movies had done,
but
but
if you look at the yeah,
he's not out of the realm of possibility
yeah,
for that particular genre of fiction, which
yes,
has crazy things happen all the way, because you're dealing with a series of movies, a character, a tone that is from pulp 30s comic books and things like that would go to bizarre places and do
yeah, and
bizarre
supernatural
fantastical things.
sci-fi elements were around in the 50s and things
Yeah.
like that. And again, like, even though the alien aspect felt kind of crazy to what the franchise had been, it's still think of the motivation of your villain. Your villain is always, instead of respecting history, wanting to use it for some personal gain. And so
Yeah.
that's what our villain did again in that 4th movie. So,
And
um
that's what he's doing in this 5th movie as well.
exactly. So I like that, it was able to still not try to ignore the aspects of 4. They heavily played it into why Indiana Jones is the way he is in this movie. Why, because of the events of 4, it's still, now he has this deteriorated relationship with Marion because of the loss of their son and all of that. So,
Yeah.
it plays into the fact that, after the events of that 4th film, he did develop a really strong relationship with Mutt to the point that it's causing him pain now. So I like that they were able to work that into the story in a really thoughtful way, that really
Yeah.
informs the character. I
Like,
liked
I
that we
don't think
started.
it's Shire's best role, but
No,
he's
um,
quite annoying.
yeah,
That's beside the point. I think we're talking too much about
about
Crystal Skull here.
Skull. Yeah, so I'm trying to take it back to what. So I like that they incorporated elements of 4 and didn't just try to ignore them because they know why people didn't like that movie or whatever. But we do open with a younger indie storyline, like a younger indie adventure, which I think was a great way to open this movie. And setting up our MacGuffin in the past, and then we kind of flash forward to this
Yeah. And
older.
the de-aging and all this business, I think the de-aging visually looks pretty good. I mean, we've come a
Yeah.
long way with de-aging technology. I still don't think it's necessary. You still could have just you didn't have to de-age him in 1993 when you just had River Phoenix play your child Indiana Jones, and we all understood it was Indiana Jones then. So why couldn't you just have
Yeah, there
somebody
was
do it now?
and
There's
there was
just
a
an
whole
obsession with
series.
de-aging.
And there was a whole series, where Sean Patrick Flannery played him, um,
Okay.
played a
Did we
younger
all
Indy.
understand that it was Indiana Jones? I assume we did.
Yes, yes,
So why
but
can't we just have that? It looks real. It doesn't look weird. There's elements of it that looks
I think
weird.
when he, like, turns a little bit and the eyes kind of are a little bit blank, because they're doing it over. So Harrison Ford said, like, he did, like, the acting for those scenes, and then they just kind of put a younger face over his face. So it wasn't like them putting a face on another actor, kind of like what they did in The Mandalorian with Luke Skywalker and stuff.
Yeah.
Um, so they were actually putting that younger face over Harrison Ford's face.
It's
Um,
also Lucasfilm that's just obsessed with de-aging as well, isn't it? I mean,
yes, yes, but they
absolutely
have
obsessed with it.
but they have tons of archive footage, obviously from years back
They do.
of Harrison Ford in particular. So they had a lot to work with. So yeah, there were scenes where when he would turn his head a little bit and things, it wouldn't look quite right. But overall, I think it looked pretty good. I think this was a fun opening adventure to set up our character.
Oh,
Um,
yeah. Toby Jones's weird
Yes.
philosopher.
Yes, and to set up our MacGuffin, and really get us back into what these movies were. It felt very much like an Indiana Jones movie. They set it at night, obviously, I think to camouflage some things, which I think it still
You
was
can't,
fun.
yeah, you can't fault that. It makes sense. It's a good opening action set piece, really, on
Yes.
that train. It's wartime at this point, right
Yeah.
near the end of World War II. Obviously, Nazis are a big focus of this movie,
Yeah.
as they always tend to be in
Yeah.
Indiana Jones to some degree.
Mads
That's
Mikkelsen
all.
is just the perfect
Mads
villain.
Mikkelsen. Mads Mikkelsen is always a wonderful, wonderful villain. He can play great villains in movies that do not deserve his villain performances in them.
Yeah.
I'm thinking of, for example, the third Fantastic Beasts movie, which I know we all like to forget about those movies and the fact they
Yeah.
ever existed now. However, his version of Grindelwald was really good. Really, really good performance, actually. And I
Okay, I
like
never
Johnny
watched
Depp's
it.
version in the second movie, actually.
Yeah.
We don't like to remember those movies really exist, I suppose, do we? But
Yeah.
they do, so they're there, so you go off them.
Yeah.
But he's so good, Mads Mikkelsen, at consistently playing so menacing. And the fact that he can get away with playing virtually any random European country villain,
Yeah, it works.
it somehow works.
Which
And you
was funny for
entirely
me.
believe his drive and obsession and
Yeah.
stubbornness in this movie. It's really good, and it's matched with obviously Indy's just passion for history and passion for
Yes,
kind of
I
just
love that we saw
seeing
that
something.
purely from him.
Yeah, seeing there's pure heartedness to Indiana Jones.
Yeah, so
And
it's a good dichotomy, the two of them kind of facing off,
yeah,
the juxtaposition between their two ideologies, because obviously I think there's this respect for history on his of the villain side, but for much more sinister kind of
yeah,
understandings.
because the dial of destiny that they're dealing with is something that the Greek philosopher Archimedes made,
Yeah.
and apparently has something to do with, can
Time
it be a
travel.
time travel device?
Yes. Like it
So
can direct you to like fissures in time and you can
yes,
go through them and yeah.
and go back in time and all this kind of stuff. Again, probably the biggest conceptual idea, or I say biggest conceptual idea. Look at the amount of religious things you've had to deal with in past Indiana
Yeah.
Jones movies. But it's a massive concept that this movie does deal with, and I actually think I personally do think it pulls it off. I
Yeah.
personally do think it pulls it off, and we'll get into obviously the ending of this movie in a little bit. But Mads Mikkelsen, ex-Nazi, still a Nazi, really. The war's just over now. We're in 1969.
And he's actually been recruited to help, build um rockets and things for the US.
Build
Yeah.
things for
Mhm.
NASA.
Yeah.
Yeah. He wants to get this dial of destiny, Archimedes dial, so we can go back to World War II and ensure that the Nazis win
Yes.
by whatever means necessary. I actually think it's really interestingly revealed slightly later on that he doesn't want Hitler to win.
No.
He wants to do it himself.
Yes. Yeah.
He will perfectly happily have
Take
Hitler
on.
die.
Yes, and take on the leadership role to get what he wants.
He's
Like that.
King Nazi.
Yes. Like that very interesting conversation he has with the waiter, you know,
Oh yes, in
in
his kind of
in his
opening
in
scene in the
hotel.
60s.
Yes,
Yeah.
in his hotel room, basically talking about how, basically we just didn't win, but that can be easily fixed, and really kind of
Where it's like,
criticizing.
you didn't win the war, Hitler lost. He always says Hitler
Yeah,
lost
yeah,
as well. It's
yes.
very, he's a Nazi. He's a horrible Nazi. We
Yes.
don't like Nazis.
Yeah.
But the man doesn't like Hitler either.
Yes, so it's really interesting that he's like, "I could have done it better. I'm going to do it better," kind of attitude, which is
Like,
really
how can
kind of
you?
terrifying. It's
It's
scary.
horrendously terrifying.
Yes. So even though he's very kind of quiet and a thoughtful villain, which Mads is great at, he's still very scary,
Very,
you
very
know?
scary. And like you said, paired so well directly opposite Indiana Jones' warmth and pure heartedness, like we say, and just
Yeah.
wants to search for the other half of this dial because it's split in half, and Indy has one half in his kind of university archive. Because Toby Jones's character, his kind of old friend, went insane trying to figure
Thinking
out the
about it, trying to
mysteries
figure
of
it
this
out.
dial.
Yeah. And his
Scared
daughter.
his daughter, a lot because it basically drove him absolutely mad. It drove him to death, really.
Yeah.
It drove Toby Jones's character to death. His daughter, grown up now, is Phoebe Waller-Bridge.
Yeah.
Who I also really like in this movie. I think she's got
Yes.
every good trait of all your previous female leads from Indiana Jones movies, but almost put together.
Yes, and so it's
And
not
obviously, naturally, people hate her because she's a woman. So
yes, and it's like
the
we've
internet
only
doesn't like
seen
that.
yes, and we've only seen him work with women who he ends up kind of having a romantic attachment to. So what they've kind of put
That's
on
true.
her,
Yes, that is
they've
true.
made her a mix of like the female companions that he's had, but also made her like what Mutt was supposed to be. So like
Yeah,
almost a successor, but someone who's very capable on their own, but also kind of a female kind of counterpart to him. And I think maybe it's just because she wasn't a romantic thing to him, which that's all we've ever seen him kind of have is the romantic person as your
only
female character.
only ever one person in my eyes should have ever been romantically interested in Indiana Jones, and thankfully, it ends up being that way in this movie again as
Yes,
well.
I thought you were gonna say, and it's me.
It's not me. Although I have met Karen Allen, actually.
Yeah?
I have met Karen Allen. Very lovely person. I once made a fool of myself in front of Karen.
Really? What'd you do?
Yes, I asked her for a photograph, and then my phone wouldn't work, and then it took ages, and it took ages and ages, and just kept taking ages. Time stood still. It was like the dial of destiny.
Oh,
Time stood
no!
still, and there is a horrendously dark, horrible photograph of me with Karen Allen on. If you search way back in my
Oh, no,
social
archive of
media
photos.
photos, yeah.
That's so sad.
But I have met Karen Allen. She's lovely.
Oh.
Or she was when I met her. Anyway, she didn't mind the time it took.
Yes.
I'll say that about her. Laughed it off, and then I just felt like an idiot
Aw. But
naturally.
yes. I'm glad that she's kind of like the long-standing female character. I actually went to the church where they got married in Crystal Skull, so
Oh, okay.
yes. But yeah, I'm glad that she was kind of the circle back female character. But yes, I think it's because maybe she was the first female character that wasn't kind of this romantic situation. It was somebody who was kind
Probably,
of
but surely that would have been weirder.
yes,
Surely
yes.
for
And I don't expect it.
80-year-old Indiana
No, well, I'm
Jones.
not saying like to have a younger woman be his romantic person. It's just a female character in general not being, you know,
Well, you know what
in that
people
role.
are like. You know what
Yes.
internet men are like. So.
Yes, hence them not liking this character because has agency and she kind of foils Indiana Jones, at a few points. And
I thought she was very, very entertaining. It really.
yes, she was a lot of fun. And I liked that by the end, because you kind of expect this to happen in the first beginning. She's kind of against Indiana Jones. She's not really working with him. She's doing things on her own. She's kind of not being the best person.
No, but she's his goddaughter. I mean, come on,
Yeah,
have some
yes.
half familial bonds. I didn't realize, who knew that Indiana Jones was so close with Toby Jones that he would let his daughter be godfather goddaughter situation
Situation,
with Indy.
yeah. And then I think people also had some complaints about our short round substitute character. But I didn't mind him. Like,
I didn't mind him. I mean, admittedly, I think he was a little bit. He was an archetype and nothing more than an archetype. I
yes.
think
So it didn't bother me,
a
but I like
simple character.
yes. And I liked that he was like her short round and not a
He
character they tried
was,
to make
yeah.
his short round.
Yeah, he was. That's true. So
Yeah.
I suppose I like it from that standpoint. But he has his role to play as a character in that movie, and he
Yeah.
does that, and he does nothing more than that.
Yeah.
And I feel like everybody else kind of does a little bit more. And you can't fault the guy. You can't
Yeah.
fault the guy playing him or anything like that. I think it's probably how it's written. And to an extent, do we not expect movies like Indiana Jones to have
These callbacks to characters
to have callbacks, yes, but
yeah.
to have a rather clear portrait of good and evil and a rather
Yeah.
clear portrait of, character types and things like that.
Archetypes and things like that. Yeah, definitely.
We're not dealing with a great many grey characters in the Indiana Jones movies ever, are we? So you can't fault it from that point. He's an enjoyable character. He's an entertaining character. He does seem to have an awful lot of technical skills for seemingly someone who's lived on the street in Morocco.
Yes. Yeah.
An awful lot of airplane flight capability.
Well, I mean, they do try to hint at that he's practicing with, American
piece of
pilots who go
cardboard.
yes, and American pilots kind of showing him the different controls and things like that. So, he kind of at least has a feel for it, which I mean, I have seen that in movies before. There was this movie, in the '90s called Young at Heart with Mel Gibson and Elijah Wood, and Mel Gibson, he was a pilot who, was, frozen in, the '50s, and then he comes back in, the '90s. And he, befriends Elijah Wood, who helps take care of him. And he shows him, with cardboard and all kinds of stuff, the different controls of a plane and all that stuff. And then there's a scene where Elijah Wood actually has to apply that and help,
Okay,
land a plane.
there's previous to this then. Okay.
So it's been done on screen before. So it very much took me back to Young at Heart. If you know the movie, then yes. Yeah, so not something I like that there was a setup for that, it's probably something he regularly does with American pilots who come to that club or whatever, and they show him, because he's eager to learn how to whatever. So it's fair that he would maybe have some kind of understanding of flying a plane and be useful later in the movie. So I didn't think that was too far-fetched crazy.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, I will say they really kind of try to have this set up with Antonio Banderas' character only for him to be kind of not as
That was unfortunate, wasn't it,
yes.
actually?
He had very few lines, he had very few things to do, and then he's gone. So, yeah, that
Yes,
was
he was
kind of weird.
promptly murdered by Mads Mikkelsen's people.
Yes. So it was very much why cast Antonio Banderas if he's not really gonna do anything? So
Yeah, I did think that, admittedly. That was kind of a shame. Nice to see Antonio Banderas in a major movie that you don't get to see his face in major movies a great deal.
Yeah.
So it's nice from that point of view, but yeah, I did think a little bit wasted of a particular performer in a role that could have really gone to anyone at all.
Yeah.
So I'll say that fair, but ultimately I just think I went into this movie wanting to feel like I was wanting by the end of it to feel like I'd seen an Indiana Jones movie, and by that I want a particular kind of fondness that emanates from the screen of historical and culturally significant locations,
Yes.
and have some sort of mystic artifact,
Yes, which we got.
and have people rummaging around, crossing over like wooden bridges and going through caves
Yes, we
and
got that.
holding flaming torches, and
Epic
Indiana
chase
Jones using his whip
sequences.
and chases and actions and
Mhm.
beating the Nazis. And we got
Yes.
all of this. We got all of this. So I came out of it going, I enjoyed that. That's a good
Yes.
Indiana Jones
It
film.
had
What a
everything
week
you want
for
from an
that.
Indiana Jones movie. It definitely played into his age and how he feels
It
about it
did.
now, and still showing him kind of doing the action as best as somebody that age could potentially do that action, like that
But
character.
speaking as Indiana Jones, talking about, why am I doing this? I've got 3 screws in one knee, I've got a busted other knee, I've got like a bad back,
Yeah.
my neck's
Yeah.
killing me. Why am I climbing up this stone wall? I'm too old for this. It's very much I'm too old for this from Indiana Jones's
Yes.
perspective, not just
Yeah.
us looking at Harrison Ford going, why are they making Harrison Ford do this?
Do all of this,
He
yeah.
clearly wants to do this. He clearly wants to portray
This
an
character
Indiana
at this time
Jones.
in his life, yeah.
Yeah, an older Indiana Jones, an Indiana Jones that hasn't got much left in him, but has got
But
one big thing
something left,
left in him.
yes, and he still very much feels like that character of an older version. Like, that's why I loved Michael Keaton in The Flash, because he felt very much
Okay.
like familiar to the Bruce that we knew as a young man, now
Yeah.
older, and he really kept that energy of that character. So, I definitely think Harrison Ford is doing that with this iteration of Indiana Jones, and I feel like the
You get
action.
tomb raiding as well, don't you? Tomb
Yes,
raiding
yes, and I like
Archimedes' old tomb with its all statues and cobwebs and
yes,
coffin,
and the fact
every
that they found some
sarcophagus.
things. Yeah, they found some things on his sarcophagus that were like propellers, and what's this watch doing in here?
Yes.
Only for that to have this really fun cyclical time travel connection that we get to later, which I thought was like a
Yes,
cool thing.
because there is time travel in this movie. Oh, it's crazy. It is crazy.
Yeah,
I'll fully admit. It's absolutely crazy. I did not envision this happening in this movie at all. Look, we know we've had
we got
slightly
aliens, but you
fantastical
weren't.
things. No, we've had fantastical things happen in past Indiana Jones movies, as we've already said. We've
Yes,
often had religious and philosophical issues be
yeah,
discussed in Indiana Jones movies and things like that. Always been brought up, always been a major part of them. Here is our philosophical scientific issue that is brought
yes,
up in this movie, because it's all Archimedes. It's not Jesus or Moses or whatever was happening in Temple of Doom,
yeah.
or aliens. This is time. This is Greek philosophers
Yes, and this is, like, s steeped
thinking.
in history. So it's like, I love that we're like, by the end of it, we're seeing how much Indy loves history. The fact that now
Yes,
he's in this situation, okay, we can,
let's
talk
just
about
talk
Mads.
about it now.
Yes. So Mads Mikkelsen's whole plan is to go back to a specific date so that he can win the war. Um
Yes,
and he is using the dial to kind of coordinate where that fissure is in time to go through it. And as they're going there, Indiana has been shot at this point. They've captured him. He's on their plane, so it's up to uh, his goddaughter to save him. And he's going through this whole, only realizing that Archimedes didn't account for, I think, continental drift. Um,
yes. Archimedes did not know about continental drift. You're going through the wrong hole. This is going to end badly for you.
yes. So they
So
end up
where do we end?
we end up way, way far in the past, a little too far during a war with ships and and like
It's the siege of Syracuse, which is on
yes.
it's on Sardinia. No, it's not. It's on Sicily.
Yes.
It's on Sicily. And it's the Greeks attacking, or is it the Greeks? Is it the Romans attacking Grecian settlement on Sicily or something like that?
Yes.
It's the siege of Syracuse on Sicily anyway.
So then
and
obviously
Archimedes is there.
Yeah, so
and all of a
obviously
sudden it becomes an ancient period piece of a movie with Indiana
Yes.
Jones in the middle of it all.
and the
And a
planes
flying
going
plane.
through, and they don't understand. They think they're dragons, and they're so confused, and they don't know what's going on. So they're shooting them down with their like slingshot cannons and their very, primitive weapons of war. And
Spears and bows and
Yes!
arrows. Yeah.
yes, it's very scary. And so Mads Mikkelsen is panicked. He's like, I've made a mistake. I don't know what to do. So he's very stressed at that point. Only for them to, Indy to be able to get off the plane. He lands in a parachute with Phoebe, and he wants to stay there and die there. And like just the way they have him looking around and taking in the history and marveling at it, and the fact that this is something he studied his whole life, and was always important to him to preserve these things. And
Yeah.
he just wanted to stay there and live in that, because like, what does he have going home? He has
They
nothing.
even he's got a tiny apartment in New York. His marriage is over.
Yeah. His son
he's on his
dead
own
in the war. Yeah.
He even gets to meet Archimedes, the both of them, and let's call it what it is as well. Phoebe Waller-Bridge is also very much in the vein of Indiana Jones, given the fact she's so into studying history. She's so into all this,
but she's a bit of a
archaeological
scoundrel
stuff.
about it, in terms of wanting to steal things and profit off of them, and yeah, she's kind of been jaded about. She understands it. She's studied it enough to care about it to some degree, that she's studying it, but has become very much like, I want to go the opposite vein, because look how my father studied this and kind of went insane.
Yeah.
I'm going to study it and see what I can gain from it, I feel like, is how they play her character.
But the Archimedes is kind of fascinated, because he's currently, you see him making the dial itself that we've already just seen them use to actually get here in the first place.
Yeah.
He's kind of recognizing, wait a minute, did this work at some point in the future?
Yeah.
I need to go and have a look at what's going on outside here. So he takes his little servant boy with him, and they go off, and Indiana Jones meets actual Archimedes.
Yes.
Which is probably the weirdest thing that these movies have ever done.
Yes,
Archimedes speaks to him in ancient Greek.
Well, I mean, he talked to that that knight from
yeah, but he wasn't even speaking as he should have been, because really, if we're being honest with you, should have probably been speaking French.
Yeah,
that old knight.
Yeah.
He should have either been speaking French or a very distinct form of Old English.
That is true.
Which you wouldn't be able to really understand. It would sound like either, an untranslated version of the Canterbury Tales or French.
Okay. Well, I appreciate you correcting the inaccuracies in an Indian.
Shouldn't have been speaking normal, understandable English.
Well, that is true. Well, Archimedes is not speaking English, which I appreciated.
No, he's not speaking
and they're
Greek.
speaking, and they're speaking his language, and he immediately knows they're from the future, which I love. And there's just like this immediate understanding from him. Like, he's not afraid of them or weary of them. He's really curious about them.
No, he asks them, how long have you traveled? How far have you traveled?
Yeah.
And they say, like, about 2,000 years.
And they show him the dial. They show him the watch. And that's kind of how the watch ends up in his
imagine
grave.
For the rest of his life.
Yeah. And the propellers on the side
around,
of his...
Yes. Archimedes walking around wearing a watch at a time when clocks had been so far off being invented.
Yes. I'm led to believe, I think I saw, like, I was watching a breakdown and they were kind of actually going on to the history, and I think Archimedes actually died during that war because he was working on something really important, and his men were trying to get him to leave, and he refused to leave because he wanted to finish what he was working on. And the man who was guarding him just got annoyed that it was taking so long and killed him.
Oh, for God's sake!
So
That
I think
sounds
that's what
about right. Yeah,
I think that's what really happened. So I'm glad that that he was working on the dial, and one of those
Yeah.
guys that was guarding him just got annoyed, and I'm
This is
outta
a
here.
much better outcome, I think.
Yeah.
But no, I actually really like it. I think it's as weird as it is, as out there as it is, it's oddly poignant because you do get that moment of just sitting with Indiana Jones saying, "I'm ready to die here.
I'm
I'm
ready to
happy.
die surrounded by history, the thing that
I'm
I love
happy
the
with
most,
this."
the
And
only
Phoebe
thing I have
Waller-Bridge is
left.
pleading with him, Phoebe Waller-Bridge is. It's like, "You can't, no, we have to go back. We have to go back. We'll get you back. We have to go back." And he's just
Like, what do I have to
resigned.
go back to?
He's
Yeah.
not even resigned himself, but content with himself.
Yes, and I love that he's surrounded by history, and that's enough for him because he doesn't have his wife, he doesn't have his son. His goddaughter seemingly doesn't really maybe care about him in a or has shown him that she cares about him in a way that's worth him still being around for her.
I suppose right up until this
Right till
exact
that end,
moment.
like her risk to get on that plane to save him, I
Yeah.
think is like kind of her big gesture. And then this kind of final gesture of that she needs him and she wants him in her life and she wants him to be around and also doesn't want him to screw up history. Um, so, yeah, I like that he's contented in just being surrounded by history because he feels like that's the only thing he's ever had and the only thing he has left in that moment. So I thought that was a really beautiful thing for this character. So had they left him there, I think that would have been like a beautiful ending for him. But I also like that,
Yeah.
she needed him and she was finally able to stop pushing him away because of reminders of her father, because of what this thing did to him, because of selfish reasons, and that she could respect him and care about him enough to want to bring him back. So I like how that ended up playing out, that she ends up kind of knocking him out and taking him
Yes.
back. Yeah.
Yes. And we end up back. And I mean, it's an overjoyous happy ending, isn't it, really?
Yeah.
Marion comes back and seems to be like okay now. Like, I'm not really
Well,
sure.
I like that the explanation for them parting was not about anything he did really. It was just her grief.
No.
Her grief was just too much. It was just too much. He couldn't console her. She was too heartbroken about the loss of Mutt that she couldn't function, and he just didn't have the capacity to console her or make her feel better about any of it. So it was never anything he did wrong. It was never an argument between the two of them. It was just the loss of her child was just all consuming, and there was nothing he could do about it. So I
Yeah.
think maybe when she's faced with the point of losing him, that might be kind of the enough. How I kind of explained it in my own head
No, I think
was that
that's
the
reasonable.
thought of
Yeah.
losing him was enough for her to realize that,
Yeah.
there was nothing he did. I think it would be better for us to deal with this pain together because I
And
don't
I
want to
think
lose
it's
him
very
too.
precious.
Yes,
I think
especially that they
it's
recreate that scene from Raiders with, it doesn't hurt here on the elbow, doesn't hurt here, and like kissing all these places. 'Cause that
yes.
was a very sweet moment from Raiders with them together, and to kind of relive that was really, really cute. And
Very
just
cute.
kind of getting the little grabbing of the hat at the end, I think was really sweet. Getting to see Sala, I like they played him in very well. That over the
You know what they
years, Indy
did? They actually
helped.
did. I mean, John Rhys Davies, bless him, does look old. But
Yes, but even the fact that he's like, "I brought my passport so I can come with you." And he's so cute that he wants to go on the adventure. I miss the sea and I miss the like he's very
I
much like
miss the desert indeed.
yes, he's so good. I love his delivery. Like he's just it was good seeing him and like they played him into the plot well that like over the years Indiana Jones got him out and brought him to America and helped him and his billions of kids and now he has grandkids and
Yeah.
living in
Because
New York
he's
and
just, my children know what it's like to be American and Egyptian. They
yes,
are
so
proud
great.
of their heritage. And he
Yes.
speaks in that very
Yes, booming.
grandiose way.
Give them hell, Indiana Jones. Like
And then almost gets run over. by
Yes, so
Harley
it kills the
shouting that
momentum
at
of
the
the
airport.
moment, but in the trailer, it worked
No,
very well.
they did play Salah in really well, actually.
Yes,
I think
yeah.
just to have him be there,
Yes.
because he's obviously a favourite character from the
Yeah.
history of Indiana Jones. I really did enjoy it. I really did enjoy it. I know it's not, I don't think it's the best of the Indiana Jones movies, but I don't see anything to really, fault, to really complain that much about, to really not loving it, aside from a little bit of the general annoyance at the fact we constantly have to de-age rather than just casting a real looking other person.
Yeah, well, I think they actually did have some body doubles in terms of kind of the stunt stuff. It was a stunt guy,
Yeah.
and it was the guy who everyone wanted to play Solo, who played young Harrison Ford in that Age of Adeline movie. So I think he actually did some of the, like, the
Oh,
stunt things as well.
okay.
Yeah.
Okay. But no, I had a lot of fun with it. It was an Indiana Jones movie in the vein of what I want an Indiana Jones movie to
Yeah.
be. Certainly an older Indiana Jones movie. I don't necessarily think it's as dynamic as Raiders or Temple of Doom or Last Crusade, but it's thematically quite interesting when you sit with it. And
Yeah.
I enjoyed Dial of Destiny. I
I
really
really
did.
did too. I thought, like, and then they felt like the action was nonstop as well. So many really great, well-placed callbacks to things, a solid villain, very much of the formula. So I don't know why that was a complaint for people. It literally followed the same formula as all of the other films.
Yeah.
Really just showing kind of closing with Indy's love and passion for history in general. Really feeling like what this character would be like at this age, and having them just this beautiful ending with his best girl, I think was just really sweet.
Yes.
So, yeah,
Marion. Yay,
I really enjoyed
Marion.
it. Yeah,
We like Marion.
yeah.
Did you want to give a quick ranking? I suppose we don't
Yes.
really have time for much of a big discussion on
No, no,
this,
no.
but I'll give my quick ranking, which is Crystal Skull.
Mhm.
Dial of Destiny, I think, goes at 4,
Okay.
and that's still to say I don't mind Crystal Skull. I do think it's the weakest. I think it's the one I will still probably watch the
Yeah.
least. Dial of Destiny goes there. Temple of Doom goes next. And then it's Raiders and Last Crusade, because Last Crusade is my favourite one.
That's my exact ranking as
Yes.
well.
Good.
Yes.
I'm glad you're
And
a
I
Last
feel like
Crusader,
yes,
Janine.
I loved Last Crusade the most. But I could also say that I could maybe be a bit interchangeable with Dial and Destiny and Temple of Doom, like, honestly.
You could be. You could be. I think I like Temple of Doom because it's really dark and
It's very
nasty.
horror. I mean, that movie was
It's
responsible
very
for the
horror.
PG-13 rating being a
It's
thing.
very horror, and
Yeah.
it's very horror, and it just there is levels, I think, to Indiana Jones movies, and yes, okay, overall quality-wise and enjoyability-wise, I think Dial of Destiny and Temple of Doom are probably reasonably level. Very different tonal
Yeah.
movies, though. Very
Yeah.
different tonal movies. Last Crusade and Raiders are on that next level up, I think,
Yeah.
of overall quality-wise. And I think people tend to just go with the easy answer of, oh, Raiders is the best one. It's the first one. It changed
Yeah.
everything. It's
Yeah.
very, very good. It's
It
obviously
is.
very, very,
But I have
very
so
good.
much fun with Last Crusade. The dynamic between him and Sean Connery is really fun.
It's a little
Um,
bit more interesting.
yeah, yeah,
Last Crusade is a little bit more interesting character-wise for Indiana Jones, and I think possibly story-wise as well. Like, I always remember the one thing I always remember, the first thing I ever think about when I think of Indiana Jones is him crossing the bridge with all the letters on.
mhm.
in Last Crusade. It's not anything from Raiders. It's not the boulder from the start.
Yeah.
It's not, the faces melting or the light, getting dragged by the rope on the back of the van. It's not any of that from Raiders. It's crossing that bridge and having to remember Bible verses
Yeah.
in Last Crusade because it's the Holy Grail. It's always that. So I've always had that. I watched Raiders first. Raiders was the first Indiana Jones movie that I did watch, but I always go for Last Crusade.
Yes. No, it's definitely the one I would go back to kind of the most as well. It's just a lot of fun. Feels bigger. The riding off into the sunset. So
Yes,
yes,
so
so good.
good.
So good. Yeah.
It's so, and Salah's in that as well. So you can't.
I think it has a great comedy as well. It's good.
It does. And Sean Connery brings an awful lot to that movie.
Yeah.
Awful lot. Well, I think it's fun and games time, Jeannine.
Woo.
It's fun and games time. I have my little book today.
Oh my gosh, what is that?
It's my fun and games book. It's my trivia book.
Okay.
Because today, in honor of Elektra in Deadpool 3, we're going to have some questions on fringe Marvel movies, Jeannine. Yay!
Oh my
fringe Marvel trivia.
Okay.
That I'm going to test you on today. Let me just get the answers because I don't know if I know any of these.
I don't know if I know any of these. I mean, I always go on and on about how I love this era of comic book movies, but how much do I actually know them?
Well, there is a total of 20 questions here.
Okay.
It's apparently called The Other MCU. This is from the Ultimate Comic Book Quiz little book that I have. Okay. Which is just comic book movie trivia. So yes, fun and games today. Fringe Marvel movies, Jeannine.
Yeah, okay.
Number 1. You'll get this one. George Lucas is credited as executive producer on which Marvel adaptation?
That would be Howard the Duck.
Yes, that's correct. Yes.
Oh, that could also be added to our Fringe DC Morgan hasn't seen series.
I'd be more into that than watching Fan Four Stick, I'll be honest with you. Who was the first actor to play the Punisher on the big screen?
Thomas Jane?
Oh, no, it wasn't. No, I'm afraid it was Dolph Lundgren.
Yes, you're right. Yes. I forgot about that.
But who was the second?
Thomas Jane.
Thomas Jane, yes. That was question 3.
Okay.
This is a strange question. Adult movie legend Tracy Lords.
Okay.
Features in which Marvel movie? I had no idea this. What is this? Adult movie.
I know.
Who is this? What is this book to suggest who is an adult movie?
I know.
legend
Well, I know who Tracy Lords is. Like, she's one of those actors who in the 90s kind of transitioned from porn to like actual movies.
I actually don't know who that is, so this isn't me, by the way, going on some sort of moral high ground.
The only movie I like off the top of my head that I can think of her in is that Johnny Depp movie, Cry Baby.
No, this is a Marvel movie.
Yes. No, I don't.
Apparently, she's in Blade.
Oh, she is. Yes, she is.
Okay.
Yeah.
Roger Corman executive produced which never officially released Super Team adaptation.
The Fantastic Four.
Yes, he did. Which was what year? But it was never released in.
Oh.
Should have been 1994.
Yes. I'm like, yeah, it was in the 90s.
Johnny Blaze is the alter ego of which Marvel hero?
Ghost Rider.
But there is another Ghost Rider, isn't there? There's another one. Is he Mexican?
Oh, I think so.
Was he not in one of the shows? Was he
I
not
think he
in
was in the Agents of
S.H.I.E.L.D.?
Yeah.
Don't know his name, unfortunately. Name the Marvel movie that co-stars Nick Nolte and Josh Lucas.
That would be Hulk.
Yes.
Simply just
Hulk. Which rapper gained a supporting role in the 2004 director's cut of Daredevil?
Rapper. Oh.
This is interesting, actually.
I feel like I remembered something about this, but I don't. Like they were supposed to be in it more, but then they cut them.
Well, apparently, seemingly, because this rapper only gained a supporting role in the director's cut. Apparently.
Yeah. I don't
Daredevil,
remember. Like I vaguely remember this, and I do own the director's cut.
Of course you do. Why would you not?
Oh, I don't remember who it was. I don't remember who it was. Was it the RZA? Was it Coolio?
I'm going to need a final answer, Jeannine.
I don't know. I'm just going to say the RZA. I don't remember.
Well, you have just said his name. It was Coolio.
It was Coolio? Okay.
It was Coolio, yes, okay. It was. Which movie tied with 50 Shades of Grey for the worst film at the 2016 Razzie Awards?
2016. What super was it? Fan Four Stick.
This was Fan Four Stick. Yes, it was. Ghost Rider: Spirit of Vengeance directors Mark Neveldine and Brian Taylor made their mark with which 2006 Jason Statham movie?
The Transporter, I guess. I don't know.
Well, it was Crank.
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 It's ridiculous.
Director Mark Steven Johnson has to date helmed 2 Marvel movies.
Yes. Oh.
Name them.
Oh. Did he do Daredevil? I think he did Daredevil.
Yes, that is one of them, yes.
Did he do Ghost Rider?
Yes, he did. Yes, he did. Well done. There you go. Question number 12.
Yes.
Which movie brings together The Walking Dead's Norman Reedus, Red Dwarf's Danny John Jules, and 80s pop star Luke Goss?
What?
How would anybody have any idea?
Norman Reedus in a Marvel movie.
Well, yeah.
I mean, I guess Blade 2. I don't know.
Blade 2 is the answer. Yes. Blade
what?
2 is the answer. What is the subtitle of the Fantastic Four sequel released in 2007?
Well, we mentioned it today. Rise of the Silver Surfer.
Yes, we did. Which early 2000s movie gave Ryan Reynolds his first big screen comic book role?
I'm just saying, was the Green Lantern before X-Men Origins?
Which early 2000s? Early 2000s.
Early 2000s.
Gave Ryan Reynolds his first big screen comic book. Even I knew this.
What?
Yes. Oh, I'm surprised.
I'm just like, was Green Lantern before or after X-Men Origins Wolverine? Because it was either one of those, right? No,
it is not either one of those.
Is it Blade 3?
It's Blade Trinity, yes.
Yes. Yes, I forgot about Blade Trinity. He was looking pretty good in Blade Trinity. Oof. Anyway.
Punisher Warzone star Ray Stevenson.
R.I.P.
R.I.P. Ray Stevenson, yes. Later went on to appear in which MCU movies?
The Thor movies as Volstagg.
Yes. Warzone also features which BAFTA-winning British actor as Jigsaw.
Oh, I don't know. I never saw Punisher Warzone.
Dominic West.
Oh, okay.
True or false? Ghost Rider 2007 features an early appearance from Anna Kendrick.
The first Ghost Rider movie?
Yes.
No, but Rebel Wilson's in it.
That is exactly what the answer says. It says no, but it does feature her Pitch Perfect co-star
Rebel
Wilson.
Wilson. Yes. She's like this dopey person who they interview on the news who said she saw Ghost Rider and was like, he had flames like.
Oh dear.
Yeah.
Which of his fantastic cast did Josh Trank first direct in Chronicle from 2012?
Oh. Michael B. Jordan.
Yes. The penultimate question. True or false? Ben Affleck was cut from the theatrical release of Elektra.
I believe that's true.
It is true, but he appears in the director's cut, if you also own that.
I have Elektra. I own Elektra, but I don't think I have the director's cut.
Okay. And the last question. Despite the infamy of his 1986 film Howard the Duck, is now a part of the MCU. Name the movies he's appeared in.
Guardians of the Galaxy. Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. Guardians of I guess that new one wouldn't be in there. And Avengers Endgame.
Well done. Yeah. Well done, Jeannine. You've done well. You did well there.
I'm mad about the Coolio because I knew the Coolio, but
fringe
I was like,
Marvel movies.
But I know the RZA was doing a lot of stuff, like really getting into acting around that time. But I remember something about Coolio, but then I was like, was I just thinking about Batman? And Robin, where he's like the
That's stupid, isn't it? I forgot about
that. The motorbike racing guy.
Dear. Oh dear.
Yeah. R.I.P.
Well,
Coolio as well.
R.I.P. Coolio, yes, as well, of course. There we go. Big extra special episode today.
Yes.
I think we've had fun on today's episode of Monday Madness, Jeannine, as we always tend to do. It is, of course, not the only show we have on the It's a Wonderful podcast feed. You can find the It's a Wonderful podcast feed on all major podcast platforms with this show on Mondays. Morgan Hasn't Seen on Wednesdays, where we are at the moment talking the Mission Impossible movies, because Jeannine's finally got me to watch those.
Yes.
Thanks to Dead Reckoning Part 1 coming out. It's been a long time coming, really. Mission Impossible, I think.
Yes, and we'll have more to talk, because apparently Tom Cruise says he wants to be making these movies well into his 80s.
His 80s.
That's what he recently said. So
he's insane. Yes. He's insane. He is insane. Mission Impossible on Morgan Hasn't Seen every Wednesday at the moment. And of course, the main show, It's a Wonderful Podcast itself, every Friday, celebrating old movies, showing love to them, giving them a little platform to say, hey, look, this is from many decades ago, but it's great. Yes. Stop forgetting about it, you weirdo who doesn't watch old movies. Watch old movies. They're way better.
They're great.
They are. They just are. That's Morgan's personal opinion of the day. One of several Morgan's personal opinions of the day. Monday, Wednesday, Friday. We have you covered on all major podcast platforms. And of course, subscribe and ding your notification bells on this YouTube channel for all the fun stuff we have here and have coming to here, as we alluded to at the very beginning of today's show, as well as all the other good stuff we have and will be having on here anyway, because we're not going anywhere on the YouTube channel either. If you would like to support us on Patreon or donate in any way, there are links down in the description to do that. We love all our patrons dearly. We can't do what we do without their generous support, and those links are there if you would like to join them. You can, of course, also just find us on social media, on Twitter at It's a Wonderful One. You can find me on Twitter at the Purple Don with a 3 instead of the E and the because, Jeannine.
3 is the magic number.
On Instagram and TikTok at the Purple Don. All your delightful stuff is where.
You can find me at Jeannine _ on Twitter, Jeannine on Instagram and TikTok. If you want to get any merch for any of our shows, the link has been just scrolling by on the bottom, or you can check the description or search It's a Wonderful Podcast on teespring.com. We have some really fun designs over there, some Stranger Things designs, some logos for all of our shows, so please check it out for merch. And if you want to purchase any of my art in print form, you can find that at my Big Cartel shop, g9design.bigcartel.com.
There we go. I do think there's only one thing left to do, unless you had anything else to say about anything else at all.
No, I think we've said a lot.
We have certainly said a lot, yes. I was going to say, we have said certainly a lot, which is, you can tell where my voice is at the moment.
Yes.
With the amount we've talked about on today's show. I wonder if there's any impressions from today's show we could possibly get you to do. I think over evil Nazi would be unfortunate and unpleasant, and nobody wants to hear that.
Yes.
But it would be in keeping with Indiana Jones. Let's do another Salah impression, shall we, Jeannine? he's always good for an impression.
Oh my god, no. 3, 2, 1.
Bye.